Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight. Ahead of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections, civil society sets up situation room to track progress. INEC postpones senatorial election in Enugu over murder of candidate. Fire claims lives of 8 in Sabongari, Zaria. And on the foreign scene, 15 African states abstain in UN vote against Russian invasion of Ukraine. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. We begin with preparations for the elections, and civil society organizations through different election observer groups have set up coverage situation rooms. This is to ensure accurate tracking down of field reports from observers and monitoring of the voting process beyond the casting of votes. The situation rooms will also follow collation and announcement of results by the Independent National Electoral Commission in order to ensure transparency and accountability. Aisha Salihu reports.
Close monitoring of the polls and verification of data from the exercise are key ingredients that will ensure clarity and long-term sustenance of the country's democracy.
Is deploying a total of 2,000 observers across Nigeria. To support our field observers, the CTA has set up a situation room, which is opening. To follow up with the field reports from observers to generally establish common trends towards gauging the level of compliance with minimum international standards for credible elections.
And then we have also set up a checklist that we capture some things that people take for granted. You know, we want to see how persons with disability are treated, not necessarily the number, but how they are treated. You know, how are the ad hoc staff keeping to the INEC guidelines issued, you know. So those little nitty-gritty things. For instance, we're talking about the issue of insecurity. We expect that the security agencies will deploy their agents across, but we're also going to look at unique innovations.
The situation room will also ensure that results collated from the 8,809 registration wards and 176,846 polling units across the 774 local government areas of the country will tally with the announcements that will be made by the electoral body.
And because we already have access to the INEC result viewing portal, in our own situation room, we have set up our digital items that will help us track those results. So while in the situation room, we will be listening to the chief returning officer, the chairman himself, declaring the results. And as the results are coming in state by state, we'll be able to compare what is happening at the back end with what is happening at the collation room. So we have accredited our members who will sit there on behalf of the expert team that we have here, feeding us information from the situation room as well as feeding us information from the field.
There are calls on the security agencies deployed on election duties to conduct themselves with utmost neutrality and professionalism. Political parties and their agents are also being urged to conduct themselves in accordance with the rules of engagement at polling units and collation centers. And most importantly, voters are expected to remain vigilant, law-abiding and peaceful before, during and after the elections. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, religious leaders, women groups and people with special needs and other stakeholders have identified failure to accept election results in good faith by politicians as one of the factors responsible for violence during and after elections. They said this at a stakeholders roundtable on peaceful polls in Kaduna. The report.
The roundtable with the theme Peaceful Elections as a Catalyst for Women's Active Participation is aimed at encouraging women to participate in the election and also sensitize them on the safety of women during the polls.
But what prompted us this time around was the fact that a lady who was supposed to be a woman leader of a party, I think the Labour Party in Kaura local government, was actually killed because of politics. And that's what prompted us, and we said, no, something has to be done. And it looks like it's the women that are most vulnerable when these things happen.
For religious leaders at the meeting, most of the violence occurs after the election due to the fact that some politicians do not want to accept elections result in good faith.
All depends on the politicians. If they don't accept results and instigate their followers, that's why we have crisis. But anytime the politicians accept defeat, congratulate the other person, nobody goes, there won't be any crisis.
So CAN has done quite well in creating the need awareness on the part of the people by making the necessary mobilizations for proper participation and for praying for the peaceful process that will lead to election of leaders that should lead the country on the right path.
And we have discovered there is need for peace, and peace cannot be bought in the market, no matter your money. You talk of defense, but defense is different from peace. That is why people with disability have agreed to join hands and talking about awareness on peace in this country, particularly the elections that is coming.
At the end of the meeting, stakeholders resolved to ensure that the safety of women who are most vulnerable during the election is guaranteed. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
And still on the forthcoming elections, an election observer group, IAGA Africa, has predicted possible low turnout of voters due to the current hardship in the country, just as it fears vote trading and disenfranchisement. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports that the largest African election observer group made the prediction during inauguration of the Center for Democracy and Development Situation Room in Abuja. IAGA Africa, while reeling out safety advisory to journalists, also appreciates notable improvements in the distribution of logistics for the election by the electoral management body, INEC. The report.
About 10,000 journalists, both local and international, have been accredited to cover a single largest democratic exercise on the African continent, and their safety became paramount. Executive Director, International Press Council, Larry Arogundade, was at hand to equip members of the press with the necessary tools and guidance for effective election coverage.
Accredited journalists should make sure they cover from reasonable distance to make retreat possible if the situation gets rough, there is mob action and violence occurs. Next, we advise accredited journalists not to walk or move alone. They should, as much as possible, move in groups or in clusters. It is much easier to attack a person than a group of persons.
As it deploys for the elections, about 4,000 observers across the 36 states of the Federation and Abuja, IAGA Africa observes notable improvement in INEC logistics deployment. Possible voter apathy due to prevailing hardship triggered by naira and fuel scarcity, amongst others.
The pre-election observations revealed marked improvement in the logistic planning as it relates to the production and deployment of election materials by INEC amid perennial challenges like insecurity and emerging threats like the scarcity of naira notes.
The Election Observer Group is also not unmindful of the growing insecurity concerns and the deepening ethnic and religious fault line threatening the pose, but takes solace in the resolve by traditional and religious leaders' determination to preach peace for the overall success of the exercise.
This is one election where religion and ethnicity may play an important role, but let's not underestimate the efforts of very important stakeholders to ensure that these elections go well and are acceptable by all Nigerians.
A situation room for the 2023 elections by the IAGA Africa is now active. The objective is to track and report every development in relation to the election as part of efforts to guarantee electoral accountability. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now to Zamfara State, where 2 policemen and 3 others were injured when political thugs waylaid the convoy of a wife of a governorship candidate in Zamfara State on a Thursday evening in Gusau. The injured persons were rushed to the Federal Medical Center Gusau for treatment. The report.
The injured policemen are Inspector Hashimu Dalladi and Sergeant Umar Mude. The other victims are Abdullahi Mainasara, Abdurrahman Garba and Umar Garba. They allege that the state anti-thuggery operatives who had stationed themselves at the Tudunwada roundabout attacked the convoy, injuring about 9 persons, including the 2 policemen. They also allege that the anti-thuggery operatives used firearms and dangerous weapons to attack them. However, Commandant of the Zamfara State Anti-Thuggery Committee, Bello Bakesua, denied the allegation, saying it was the supporters of the candidate that first attacked the operatives on duty.
We cannot attack innocent citizens, and our job is not to attack. I don't know what you mean by attack. Attack with what? All I know, there was a contact, a clash between anti-thuggery operative during their daily routine of patrol.
As a result, 2 of my security escorts, a police sergeant and inspector, sustained various gunshots. In addition to those police, 5 other innocent civilians also sustained gunshot injuries, and they are being treated at the Federal Medical Center in Gusau.
Police in the state said the matter is being investigated by the State Criminal Investigation Department, and perpetrators of the attack will be brought to justice, adding that 1 suspect has been arrested.
Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, has said senatorial elections will not hold in Enugu East Senatorial District of Enugu State because of the murder of the candidate of the Labour Party, Oyibo Chukwu. Yakubu said this during pre-election briefing at the International Conference Center, Abuja, where the Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Ali Baba, also addressed other security issues. Noel Sampson reports.
Chukwu and his personal assistants were killed on Wednesday and set ablaze Chukwu's campaign vehicle. The INEC chairman said the death of the Labour senatorial candidate in Enugu State, few days of the election, left the commission with no option but to postpone the election. He said the senatorial election will now hold on March 11th.
I can confirm that we have now received a formal communication from the political party informing the commission of the death of its candidate for Enugu East Senatorial District. The party also conveyed its intention to participate in the election for that constituency by replacing its deceased candidate. This request is in line with the provisions of the law.
He explained withdrawal of corps members from elections in Imo State due to security concerns.
The Commission is aware of the situation in Imo State, in the southeastern part of the country, where it was reported that some of the critical polling unit officials drawn from the National Youth Service Corps have withdrawn their participation from some local government areas as a result of perennial insecurity. From the reports we received from our state office, concerns have been expressed about the security situation in Osu local government area, 5 wards in Okigwe, and 6 in Olu local government areas.
The Inspector General of Police, Al-Kali Baba Usman, said the police force has made adequate arrangement for a peaceful conduct of the elections on Saturday.
A unique technical intelligence asset of the force are also to be deployed towards identifying adverse elements that may be planning to disrupt the process through this initiative. Such elements will be identified real-time, geolocated, isolated, arrested, and brought to justice. We have also made arrangements by looking at issues of crime mapping the entire country, thereby concentrating on areas that requires either minimum deployment or maximum or average based on the analysis or based on the threat analysis that has been done both by our service and that of other services, especially the DSS, and also even the civil society organizations have given us threat analysis of the country, and we are going to concentrate on policing these places.
At least 15 people were killed during campaigns in 3 states few days to the election. Condemnation greeted murder of the Labour Party senatorial candidate in Enugu State. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And former Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman, Professor Attahiru Jega, has said that hacking the database of the Electoral Commission is possible. He stated this while speaking on Trust TV's program Nigeria Decides on issues surrounding the preparedness of INEC ahead of Saturday's polls and issues regarding elections in the country. Commenting on the effectiveness of BVAS, the former INEC chairman commended the level of preparedness by the electoral body, but said he could not guarantee that the Commission's database can't be hacked. He added that INEC had confirmed employing excellent cybersecurity for their databases.
You see, in this modern age, nobody can give you 100% assurance that a database cannot be hacked, unless if the database is not online. You know, in 2015, when we did the elections, our database was not online. You know, it's what you call standalone databases. You know, but now, particularly because there is the issue of transmission of results, yes, it has to be online. You know, so, but all over the world, databases are used and they are relatively secure to be used. Why? Because people deploy effective cyber security. Okay. And the INEC has said consistently that knowing the political terrain, yes, you know, they have also got the best cyber security for the databases that they have. Okay. And we have to trust them, you know, that they have done their best. It doesn't mean it will be 100% secure, you know, but I know that whoever uses a database also uses what is called security alternatives, you know, which virtually nobody knows, you know, but where you duplicate the data and keep it just in case, yes, either your own main database is hacked or is even demobilized or immobilized by hackers. You know, so I will expect that INEC has taken adequate measures.
And still on the forthcoming elections, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of elections coordination in the Federal Capital Territory, Aishatu Abubakar, has admonished the 17,401 policemen deployed for the exercise to be diligent in their duties and provide a violence-free environment for voters, election officials and observers during Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections in Abuja. Noel Samson reports.
Over 17,000 policemen will be manning various police units and strategic locations in the nation's capital during the election. The policemen were employed to discharge their duties professionally and in accordance with electoral laws.
As police officers and all other security agencies, our responsibility is to ensure that the electoral process is secured, is safe, and credible, isn't it? Yes. Good. We are expected to be non-partisan. Our responsibility as police officers, just as you know, your duties is to ensure that we protect life and property, that all citizens go about to conduct their civil right without any fear of intimidation. We should also be very mindful of vulnerable people, amongst whom are women, people living with disabilities, and so on, right? We should be guided by all the relevant laws, guidelines, and regulations. Have you seen this document? Yes. Do you all have copies of this document? Yes. Have you read this document? Yes. Okay. This is the revised standard operational guidelines and rules for police officers and other law enforcement agents on election security duties.
They also reminded of the need to respect fundamental rights of Nigerians.
This is not the only number that we have. Already men have been deployed. Of course, you know that materials sensitive and not sensitive, some of them have started going out. So of course we have men, we cannot bring everybody. So this is just an addition to what we have already on the ground. You will expect a very safe, a very credible election. You expect that good conduct from our policemen who have been well briefed, who have been well trained. We have done a lot of capacity building. The IG has been very focused at all levels, at the operational, strategic and management level. He has done a lot of training, capacity building to prepare officers for this election.
Voters in Abuja will be voting in the presidential and National Assembly elections, with 1 Senate and 2 House of Representatives seats being contested for. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Osun State Police Command has warned politicians and youth in the state to eschew violence and allow the general elections to hold in peace. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Abayomi Oladipo, gave the warning at a meeting with political parties in the aftermath of the gruesome killing of 3 persons in Ilesha axis of the state during the week. The axis is the epicenter of violence as 3 persons were killed on Monday evening, causing panic in the area. Commissioner of Police Abayomi Oladipo met leaders of dominant political parties, where he warned that anyone caught perpetrating violence would be prosecuted.
For the electorates, we want to assure them that police is ever, and other security agencies are ever ready to provide a secured environment for them to cast their vote without fear of harassment or intimidation. And for political thugs who have made up their mind to create unhealthy environment for voters, this is a clear warning. They should steer off the election process and have a rethink, because for every action there must be consequence, and we are ever ready to bring them to justice. Peradventure, they refused to hearken to voice of reason.
The Bauchi State Resident Electoral Commissioner Muhammad Bula Manura has assured electorate that sensitive materials will arrive polling units as early as possible on election day. He made the disclosure at State INEC headquarters after receiving sensitive materials ahead of the February 25th presidential election. Adam Imam completes the story.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials to all 20 local government areas of Bauchi State amid tight security. Speaking during the inspections of the consignment at the headquarters, they said the materials arrive for onward distribution to various locations for transparent exercise.
Like I always say, people should come out to exercise their civil rights. They should come out and mass vote, conduct themselves peacefully, so that this exercise is seen to be credible, peaceful, and acceptable to all.
He said the process has begun in earnest, and the buses hired for the distribution exercise were lined up ready to convey the materials to various locations in the state.
You know, when it was time for the prospective voters to come out and collect their PVCs, none of any of the voters in these 6 polling units came out to do so. And so, as it is now, these local governments, polling units, as far as our records are concerned, have no prospective voters.
Present at the distribution exercise were security agencies, election observers, as well as representatives of various political parties. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
The Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG Johnson Babatunde Kokumo, says he has deployed over 27,000 security officers for the coverage of the 2023 election in Lagos State. He stated this at a press conference with journalists in Ikeja. Trust TV's correspondent brings us the details.
The injured policemen are Inspector Hashimu Dalladi and Sergeant Umar Mude,
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has commenced early distribution of sensitive electoral materials, unlike other general elections, which distribution of sensitive materials was done on the eve of the elections. Perhaps this step taken by the Commission is to ensure that electoral materials arrive at the various polling units on time for early kickoff of the elections. The resident Electoral Commissioner INEC in Zamfara State, Professor Babura Ahmed, told journalists at the venue of the distribution of sensitive electoral materials that the Commission had received all the sensitive electoral materials in the state and they are ready for the polls.
The process is that we have called our EOs, that is those in charge of the local government areas of the state. We have called the parties to send their agents. We have also invited the observers to come. We have invited the press to come. All this is to witness the loading of the sensitive materials from the central bank Gusau to the various local government areas in the state. That's why we are here.
Some representatives of political parties and civil society organizations who spoke with Trust TV expressed satisfaction on the conduct of the distribution process.
There are no anything hard challenging like that. However, only an institution whereby you find maybe there's a displacement of this, then they make the replacement or they make the correction for that displacement. Like some boxes whereby some party agents try to verify that the number they make votes. So when they come to verify that the number of ballot papers issued to that particular area tally the number of ballot papers issued, they try to understand the explanation made by the INEC.
The distribution of the sensitive materials is being carried in the presence of representatives of various political parties, security agents, civil society organizations, and the media, among other relevant stakeholders.
And the Plateau State Police Command has warned religious leaders in the state to desist from unguarded utterances during and after the 2023 general elections. Mohammed Dauda, Police Commissioner in charge of elections in the state, gave the warning while briefing journalists on the measures put in place to ensure free, fair and peaceful elections. Ado Musa completes the report.
Plateau State has recorded sectarian violence in the past that led to destruction of lives and property. The Commissioner warns religious leaders against utterances that could disrupt the exercise. He also warns criminal elements that the law will not spare them if found violating electoral laws, expressing satisfaction with the level of preparedness to provide adequate security to all INEC materials, electoral staff and electorates.
In the same vein, I wish to warn all religious leaders, mainly in the election processes, through their unguarded utterances, to desist from such acts, as the law will not spare them no matter their positions. They will be dealt with decisively. Those without permanent voters card and have nothing to do with voting are strongly advised to stay away from the polling units in their own best interests.
The Commissioner said about 10,000 security personnel, including police, immigration, custom, among others, are deployed to provide adequate security during the exercise.
Lastly, to our police officers and all other security agencies participating in this election, it is expected of us as security agencies to ensure that the security of lives and property, voters, and INEC officials are properly protected. Hence, I am sending this warning that on no account should any of you be found to be engaged in any form of corrupt practices. You have been thoroughly lectured on several occasions to shun corruption and be apolitical and professional during this election and beyond.
Nigerians will on Saturday vote in the presidential and National Assembly elections. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And now to Rivers State, where the State Commandant of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Michael Oga, has announced the deployment of 5,255 officers to provide security before, during and after the 2023 general elections in the 23 local government areas of the state. The commandant disclosed this during a media briefing in Port Harcourt, adding that the deployment followed directives by the NSCDC's Commandant General, Dr. Ahmed Abubakar. The report.
Ahead of the 2023 general elections in Rivers, the State Commandant Michael Oga reassured the public of core determination to remain apolitical, neutral and highly professional while on election duty. In addition, there would be a deployment of anti-vandalism squad and special forces to all critical national assets and infrastructure, including flashpoints in the state to protect them against vandalism, damage or arson by criminal elements before, during and after the elections.
We are here to assure the public that the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps will not be partisan. We are not supporting any political party. We are to provide security for everybody that is involved in the electoral process. So far, we have deployed 5,225. And we're also deploying additional security in terms of I deploy 4 gunboats, and also I have additional weapons like we have machine guns too.
The State Commandant commended the increased collaboration between various security agencies, spearheaded by the police as the lead security outfit at the forthcoming election. He said the security agencies had put measures in place with INEC to secure sensitive and insensitive election materials, as well as provide security for the Commission's ad hoc staff.
Yeah, we have joint operations with other security agencies, the armed forces, the police, the DSS, and the Nigerian Security and Defense Corps, River State Command. We are going to stop them. We won't allow them to intimidate any voter. And we have also warned our men that are carrying arms not to go close to any polling units. And also, we shall not accept any form of accidental discharge by our men. They need to have good knowledge, implement knowledge of a need for engagement, the rule of engagement.
The state NSCDC boss urged voters to cast their votes peacefully and shun all forms of violence, as the Corps will not hesitate to deal with the defaulters accordingly.
A member of the House of Representatives representing Port Harcourt 2 Federal Constituency, Chinyere Igwe, has been arrested by the police. River State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, SP Grace Eringe Koku, confirmed that the People's Democratic Party lawmaker, who is seeking re-election, was arrested with $498,100 in cash. Also recovered, according to the police, was a list for distribution of the money. She said the AIG in charge of election in the state, Abutu Yaro, has ordered swift interrogation and prosecution of the lawmaker. Yaro urged all contestants and political parties to comply strictly with provisions of the Electoral Act and other relevant laws. The police also encouraged members of the public to give vital information to the police. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says its operatives in a massive operation intercepted 32.4 million naira in Lagos, suspected to be earmarked for vote buying. The operation is set to deter vote trading and other financial malfeasance ahead of Saturday's elections. The Commission said it is yet to be identified person has also been arrested for his alleged involvement in the distribution of the money. The suspect involved has been taken into custody for further questioning. The arrest and recovery of the huge sum is coming barely 24 hours after the River State Police Command confirmed the arrest of Chinyere Igwe, a member of the House of Representatives representing Port Harcourt 2, with a cash sum of $498,100. The Commission's head of media and publicity, Wilson Owujaren, in a statement said the chairman of the Commission, Abdurrashid Bawa, has implored all personnel of the Commission deployed for election monitoring duties to show courage and not give room for unscrupulous persons to undermine the integrity of the elections through financial inducement. You're watching Trust TV News Hour. Still ahead. We'll show you why activities are low in motor parks. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Treated a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now let's take another look at our top stories. Ahead of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections, civil society sets up Situation Room to track process. And INEC postpones senatorial election in Enugu over murder of candidate. And moving on to other news now, a fire incident has claimed the lives of 8 family members in Sabongari, Zaria. The fire incident that occurred around 2 a.m. on Thursday morning took the family unawares as they were fast asleep. An eyewitness who stays close to the victim's house confirmed the unfortunate incident, adding that the cause of the fire has not yet been determined. Trust TV gathered that everything in the household was completely lost in the fire. The 8 family members have since been buried according to Islamic rites. Meanwhile, efforts to speak with the head of the fire service proved abortive as he was not on seat as at the time of filing this report. 15 people have been killed and 7 others sustained various degrees of injuries in a fatal crash that occurred at Nabardo town along Bauchi-Jos Road in Toro local government area of Bauchi State. The sector commander, Federal Road Safety Corps in Bauchi State, Yusuf Abdullahi, who confirmed the incident, said the crash involved 2 commercial vehicles, a Toyota Hiace bus belonging to Adamawa Sunshine Transport Corporation, which collided with a trailer belonging to Dangote Group. Abdullahi noted that all dead bodies were deposited at the morgue of the ATBU Teaching Hospital, after which they will be released to the families of the deceased for burial. The funeral prayers for 4 out of the 15 dead bodies was conducted at the Kwallaga Jumaat Mosque on Friday in Bauchi. Travelers face difficulty paying transport fares at motor parks in Abuja as the unavailability of the new Naira notes remains even on the eve of the general elections. Trust TV's Kabir Law visits Jabi Motor Park to find out how commercial transporters cope with the Naira scarcity. His report.
The Central Bank of Nigeria commenced circulation of redesigned currency on December 15th. As far as the Apex Bank is concerned, the old 500 and 1,000 Naira notes cannot be swapped anymore since the February 10th, except the old 200 Naira. The aim, according to the bank, is to address rising inflation and economic stability. Motor parks are not exempted from the Naira scarcity being experienced by Nigerians. A cross-section of passengers said electronic payment platforms that provide relief are also overwhelmed.
People that are entering our motor now say there is no money cash, it affect them. They go send money, the money they go say they don't hang. Now we hang the money, whether na bank hang and whether na POS, we don't know. I go work and go house with my leg, without nothing. So I don't know what we will do. We want to talk about the police again. What do children go show up for us? Make them know what they do, because the thing they just talk to another thing. I don't know for this country where we go. I don't know where we are going. Whether we go front or back, I don't know. Right from Imo State, I transferred an amount of money to my driver, but up till now, yes, I'm staying in Abuja. I transferred the money since in Imo State, but till we reach here, he has not gotten the alert, and that is why I'm here.
I use POS. There's no cash, and there's no network.
Like yesterday in Port Harcourt, before I get 10,000 naira, it's 15,000 naira. Before I can get 10,000 naira cash, so it's not reliable. We just to manage it so that we can get money.
Since I was born, this is my time experiencing cashless in Nigeria, and that shows a very bad government, because a lot of people are suffering because of this cashless issue. For more than 3 weeks now, people are suffering. No money, no food. You cannot afford even to buy mineral or buy bottled water, or even to shave. You cannot afford it. And someone have money in his account, he don't have any access of the account.
Commercial drivers and passengers want the government to fix the problem and make the new note available to allow people move freely and participate in the forthcoming elections. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, Nigerians have continued to decry the negative impact of the Naira redesign policy, despite assurances from the presidency that the crisis will be resolved. Though meant to address issues around vote buying, kidnapping for ransom and other economic challenges, the policy has unleashed untold hardship on citizens, as access to cash has become a nightmare. Chamunda Beng reports on how Nigerians are faring in the face of the policy.
As a result of the scarcity, POS agents now charge 30% more of what they originally charged. For small withdrawals, the agents charged 100 naira, while large sums were charged at 300 to 500 naira. Today, POS agents are seen to charge as much as 2,000 naira for a 10,000 naira withdrawal. While some believe the charges are fair when considered against the challenges of securing the cash, others feel they are overcharging.
I used which bank precisely? I used the Wema Bank to withdraw from the Wuse market. They were giving for 4,000 naira, and each of those 4,000 naira, they are deducting my money. At the end, me getting 20,000 naira, I know how much they charge from me.
Even in banks, for you to take your money, they charge you. So what's the offense of a POS person? Even if he charges 400,000%, there is just no law and order in monetary systems in this country. And you look at the monetary system and fiscal policy, no coordination at all.
The Naira scarcity has had different effects on businesses, with e-payments soaring since the official launch of the policy. Some have been unaffected as they have adjusted to the new normal, while those yet to adjust have not been smiling to the bank as usual.
Business level generally, it has not really affected me that much, because most of my items is just paying via transfer, POS and all that.
It's too much. This scarcity of Naira is not allowing us to sell our markets, because anybody will come to buy markets, you go ask whether they collect transfer. And if you reject it, you will not sell your markets.
Most transactions in Nigeria, especially in rural areas, have historically been cash-based. But today, businesses have begun to embrace cashless policies by moving towards e-payment.
Moving from the house to the work, to the office is something else. You can't get your own money. You pay before you get it. Even before getting it to pay for it is still difficult. Like as I am now, I want to go, but there's no cash.
But what if they forget about this transfer? So if people want to enter
enter motor, they go say instead of about 200 naira, they don't transfer the money to 500 naira.
With the 2023 general elections almost here, some fear that the scarcity of the Naira notes will affect their ability to cast their votes, as they will not be able to transport themselves to their various polling units. The effects of the scarcity of the Naira has made many to call on the central bank to allow more time to phase out the old 1,000, 500 and 200 Naira notes, or for the Apex Bank to print more of the new notes and rollouts to the public. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And with less than 24 hours to the general elections, INEC facilities across Benue State have become beehives of activity as stakeholders work around the clock to ensure a smooth exercise. Jimmy Azande, who has been monitoring activities in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, reports that all is now set for the polls. His report.
Stakeholders gathered here include civil society organizations, INEC ad hoc staff, among whom are supervising presiding officers and presiding officers. They are being sent to different locations across the state. They say they are ready for the election, as INEC is also prepared for the polls on Saturday, the 25th of February.
I'm here this morning to collect our tags as certified observers from the state. INEC will call it domestic observers. That's to just set us ready against Saturday. And well, from INEC side, you even hear INEC themselves crying over the lack of cash to help facilitate some of the logistics, but I think they are also on top of the game. We're just waiting to see. From the civil society, we're ready to observe that the elections go well. On their side, we see them moving up and down. Not so much tension, but I hope they're also working towards it.
But even on that, the challenges of cash and fuel scarcity are still issues to worry about, as many will have to travel far from the state headquarters to the hinterlands for their duties.
I was a facilitator just 1 week ago with INEC, and I'm a supervisory presiding officer. I think the process has been smooth to an extent. Yes, identification of names and knowing exactly where you are deployed has been easy.
I think INEC is very prepared for the elections. Because with the training we're giving us, being perfect, the use of rivers.
There has been movement of logistics from the state headquarters to various local government areas, an indication that all is set for the poll. This was earlier boosted by the signing of the peace accord by presidential candidates to guarantee a hitch-free exercise.
And human rights activists under the aegis of Edo civil society organizations on Thursday organized a sensitization walk to educate residents of Benin City in particular and Edo State in general on active participation in the 2023 general elections in order to change the country's negative narrative. Nafisa Bello has more.
Your vote, you're right. No seller for any amount.
The sensitization work kick-started from the King Square at the city center through major roads and streets at strategic points like the popular area community on Sokomba Road, an area with a large population of northern Nigerians. The residents were educated on the need to vote wisely.
If you sell your vote, now your future, now you don't sell be that. This Saturday, make una come out, make una come cast una vote. No say the vote no go count. They no go count vote where they for bedroom. Now the one where come inside feed come vote, now them go count. Make una make sure say una come out early morning. Make una cast una vote for the right person. Where no go put us through this suffer where we dey suffer so.
Market women as well as motor spare part dealers were not left out of the voter education rally, as they were encouraged to come out and exercise their franchise on election day. According to the organizers of the sensitization work, effective participation in the electoral process is one of the steps that can guarantee the future of the country. Nafisa Bello, Trust TV News, Benin.
Oh, still watching Trust TV News Hour. The news continues after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Next, now join Chiamaka Mwafo for business news.
The National Bureau of Statistics has revealed that the price of 12.5 kg of cooking gas rose from 7,413 naira 25 kobo recorded in January of 2022 to 10,207 naira 17 kobo in January 2023, representing a 38.63% increase on a year-on-year basis. This was contained in the Bureau's Cooking Gas Price Watch for January 2023 released on Friday in Abuja. However, the cost to refill it rose by only 0.28% on a month-on-month basis from 10,248 naira 97 kobo in December 2022 to 10,277 naira 17 kobo in January of 2023. State profile analysis showed that Benue recorded the highest average retail price of 11,260 naira 67 kobo for 12.5 kg cooking gas, while the lowest average price for the same size of cooking gas was recorded in Yobe at 9,550 naira. In a bid to ease the problem of cost scarcity in Nigeria, the central bank says it is boosting the usage of its eNaira platform. To this end, the Apex Bank launched the USSD channel of the central bank digital currency tagged the eNaira on Bullnet platform. The Chief Executive Officer, Bullnet Bulletin and Enquiries Networking Services, Bayo Akintoye, said the USSD with the code *997*50# will soothe the pain felt by Nigerians given the current scarcity of cash as it transitions from a cash-based economy to a cashless one. And finally, in stocks, the Nigerian exchange closed positive amidst buying interest and sell-offs as bulls dominated proceedings driving up the broad market. The all-share index ASI appreciated by 0.55% to close at 54,949.21 points. In the same vein, market capitalization grew by 165 billion naira to close at 29.933 trillion naira, while the year-to-date return settled at 6.49%. Market broke loose positive as McNichols led 31 gainers and 12 losers, topped by Living Trust at the end of Friday's session. An aggregate volume of 119 million units of shares valued at 2.50 billion naira were traded in 2,820 deals. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Mwafo.
And now we'll take a look at the foreign scene, where Zimbabwe and 14 other African states were among 32 UN member states that abstained from voting on a General Assembly resolution calling for Russia to pull out its troops from Ukraine. The resolution, whose vote occurred on the eve of Friday's first anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24th last year, called on Moscow to stop its aggression against Kyiv by withdrawing its troops from the neighboring country. Besides Zimbabwe, other African countries that abstained from the vote were Algeria, Angola, Burundi, the Central African Republic, the Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Gabon, Guinea, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Sudan, Togo, and Uganda. Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Kenya, and Nigeria voted in favor of the resolution, while Eritrea and Mali opposed the motion. The resolution, however, sailed through after receiving the backing of 141 of the 180 countries that were represented. Meanwhile, Mozambicans have taken shelter as Tropical Storm Freddy made landfall, and heavy rains are expected to batter the country's southern provinces for several days. Freddy made landfall on Friday in the coastal town of Vilanculos with wind speeds of 113 kilometers per hour. It was classified as an intense tropical cyclone after strengthening over the Mozambique Channel. French weather forecaster Météo France, which has a cyclone monitoring station on the Indian Ocean island of La Réunion, said Freddy hit the coast near the tourist town of Vilanculos in Ihambe province at about 12 p.m. GMT. No casualties have been reported 2 hours later, although trees and rooftops had fallen. And in sports, no Nigerian club will feature in the inaugural edition of the African Super League, which is expected to kick off in August. Enyimba of Aba was the only Nigerian side earlier listed to participate in the league, which was formerly meant to feature 24 teams. But the People's Elephant and some other big names in African football have been excluded from the competition, which will now feature only 8 teams. According to the planners of the league, the 8 teams expected to feature in the inaugural edition are Al Ahly of Egypt, Petro de Luanda of Angola, TP Mazembe of DR Congo, Horoya of Guinea, Wydad Athletic Morocco, and Simba SC of Tanzania. There's also Esperance de Tunis of Tunisia and Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa. CAF has also not specified if the winner will play in the expanded Club World Cup, which offers 4 places to Africa. Right now, let's join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
After a thorough inspection by African Soccer Governing Body CAF, Guinea-Bissau has secured approval to play its next qualifying match in the 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifier at home. Guinea-Bissau Football Federation had earlier adopted Morocco as their home ground for the qualifier after their national stadium failed to get CAF's approval. After the renovation of Estadio Nacional 24 de Setembro, CAF inspection team finally approved the stadium to host their qualifying encounter against Nigeria Super Eagles on 27th of March 2023. And still in football, Nigerian representative in the CAF Confederations Cup, Rivers United, has departed Abuja for Luanda, Angola. The Port Harcourt-based team will face Motema Pembe of Democratic Republic of Congo in the CAF Confederations Cup Group Stage Match Day 3 game, which holds on Sunday 26 February at the 11 de November Stadium in Luanda, Angola. Rivers United trashed ASEC Mimosas of Cote d'Ivoire by 3-0 in their CAF Confederation Cup Match Day 2 game last Sunday. The team will hope to pick another 3 points when they face Motema Pembe. Rivers United are currently second on Group B log with 3 points, behind Diablos Noise, who currently top the group with 4 points. Motema Pembe and ASEC Mimosas are third and fourth respectively with 2 and 1 points. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we wrap up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. Don't forget, for more news, you can subscribe to watch us live on YouTube and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.